And tomorrow, that is at 5 p.m. So do tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. or even get your question ready right away so we can be prepared for this event. Of course, today at 11 a.m., we have an absolute wonderful program for you. It's called Food for Thought. Now, I know it's a bit early talking about food this morning. It's much too early, and food is not the topic that we think about in the morning, but this program is at 11, not at 9. At 11 a.m. this morning, we'll be able to tune into this program. I want to leave the guests who are arriving here at 11 as a surprise to you. Most of you will know them. Most of you will meet them for the first time. So do please tune in at 11 a.m. and you're going to learn about cooking some absolute wonderful, healthy dishes, I hope. Your health is your wealth, so the food that you eat is going to become your health. So that is very important, brothers and sisters. We need to follow that. So Food for Thought at 11 a.m. this morning. I myself will be tuning in. I'm looking forward to that. It's a program that was requested by you, the listeners, that we must do more programs about cooking, especially about healthy cooking, and not food that is unhealthy, which will clog up your arteries and give you a brain ache. You need to eat good, healthy food, which will benefit you. And of course, your wealth is your health, as I've said that all the time, you know. And during the month of Ramadan, as your body is detoxing, you will learn the merits and the benefits of that. And it's absolutely important for us to emphasize that all of the time. So many of us, sometimes we feel unhappy because we've eaten the wrong types of food, right? And this is very important. And in the end, we realize that, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. You know, your stomach is bloated and you overeating during iftar, and people are just used to a selection of dishes. But of course, when we went to Medina, you go to Mecca and you do Ramadan there, you just have some yogurt and you have a piece of bread and you drink some water and you're done. You know, your whole day's thirst disappears and that's all you eat. And that's how it should be. So I want all of us to discipline ourselves, and you will be much happier for that, right? So if you have any comments on that, you can text me on 0774 8855 So that is at 11 a.m. this morning. Food for Thought. That is the program. The name of the program is Food for Thought, and we look forward to that very much. So you're listening to Ramadan Radio on 87.9 FM. Today we'll have on our Zoom call two wonderful guests joining us. And as soon as they join, then please do let me know. I'm talking to our producer right now, and we can continue with the program, or they will join us sometimes during the course of the morning between now and 10 a.m. And they're going to be talking to us about the homeless situation in Leicester. Of course, yesterday we had a good meeting on the radio. It was almost a very good debate stroke meeting with Mr. Mark Grant, who's representing the Action Homeless. And of course, you also know yourselves, all the people who are doing good work during COVID period in Leicester. The Peace Bank is one of the names that also comes to mind, the City Retreat, the Teams organization. There are so many of them, the Kidma organization, and I got to give a shout out to all of these organizations. And if you know anybody out there, then do let us know. We have one guest arrived in our waiting room, so if our producer can let them in. So these organizations are absolutely important for us in the city. And of course, if you know organizations that were doing good work during COVID, please do text me and let me know, because we need to really engage with all of these organizations and bring them to highlight and big them up encourage them and even invite them here to the studio to share with us some of the work they're doing. Because when you're delivering food parcels, you're at a food bank, or you're going door to door delivering, you're going to meet some amazing people, and you're going to see their plight, and you're going to be touched by that, and you're going to see how blessed you are for Allah having chosen you to go and deliver that food to fulfill somebody's needs. So when you are doing any work in the food bank or any work to help another, your good actions, you are planting the seeds for your good deeds for tomorrow. And that is what we discussed on the very first day, and we must emphasize that again. So if you can call that number, and then we can talk to our guest. Yes? Good morning.
Good morning.
We thought I'd lost you then. How are you this morning? If you'd like to introduce yourself, and I hope you have as much positive energy as I have this morning.
Oh, you sound well awake. Yes, I'm good. So I'm Corrie. I'm one of the co-founders for Help the Homeless Leicester. Specifically, I do the project management.
That's wonderful. So tell us, where are you located, and when were you established? Give us some information.
So we were established community organisation long before we registered as a charity. We registered officially as a charity in March 2018, so just over 3 years, and we're based in the city centre on Abbey Street. Though we cover surrounding areas as well. So we don't just cover city residents or the people in need in the city, we also cover the surrounding areas as well in the county.
Of course, we are practically neighbours, aren't we? Because we were at the church gate. When you started out, we started out, I think, a couple of years before you at the church gate building at the corner called the City Retreat. And
we've done some good things together as well over the years.
Yeah, well, it's always been like that. I'm encouraging all the organizations to join hands, signpost to each other and support each other. And this is a good example, which I want to share with all our listeners, that if you know organizations who are doing work, then they may have a better handle on that particular work than you will have. And the best thing for you to do is signpost to them and bounce off each other. So this is the essence this month, to engage more and more organizations together and do things together. This is very important. So, I'm going to share with you a very interesting Saturday which I had, where funds were being collected. And literally, there were a couple that came and they donated £1. And you could see that they themselves needed that £1 more than the person they were donating it to. It was a charity here called Lonely Orphans who were collecting in a bucket downstairs in the studio. And an hour later, they both came back with a bottle full of copper coins, and they handed that over. So you can see during this month of Ramadan, there are blessings everywhere, aren't there? That even people who don't have are donating and supporting a cause that they believe in. And this was an organization called Lonely Orphans. They were collecting for orphanages that they support in the third world. So really, it's a month of blessing, Corrie, that we are all being blessed to have and support each other in the community. And it's so nice that we had Action Homeless yesterday. We have yourselves today, and some wonderful people who are doing fantastic work in the community, which I'm sharing with all of you. So now, Corrie, just run me through the journey of Help the Homeless, how many people you are together, working together from different diversities. And this is one of the issues that I'm emphasizing on, is that homelessness affects everybody. And
yeah, it definitely does. We've got a good team, a staff team of about 11 now, and volunteers of 10, even more, pre-COVID. We have come from just delivering sort of sustenance, material aid, nutritional aid. But over time, we realised that there was a gap. And we sort of did some market research with our service users, which, like you pointed out, are from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicities, religions. to see where they felt that they needed the most help. And that's sort of how we've built our organisation to what it is today. We still offer that logistical support and those essentials, the food, the nutrition, the material aid, but that's not all we do. We offer advocacy, one-to-one support, individualised planning, and we also look at how else we can help with things like transitional support. So when people are moving from one difficult circumstance to embark on a new journey, the support just doesn't end there. Just because somebody's found accommodation, we continue that support to help somebody thrive and to sustain that opportunity as well.
So today, I would like you to profile a couple of cases, without mentioning any names, of course. And so the listeners who are not at all familiar with this sector can learn.
Okay. Let me just have a little quick think. So I think a good one would be a refugee. He came over, he found himself in Leicester, he didn't know anybody, didn't have a support network, wasn't aware of the support agencies that were available to him. He was given support by Red Cross, and he was placed in one of their accommodation units whilst they went through the process to get his right to remain. Once the right to remain is kind of sourced, and they're successful in that accommodation opportunity is no longer available to them, because they then have recourse to public funds. So they technically become homeless from that point. So he came to us, again, not really knowing what support was there. So we plugged him into different organisations, the local authority, got him registered with healthcare, got him registered with an optician's. He'd never had an eye test before. He did need glasses. We supported him in B&B accommodation whilst we got everything sorted. And he has actually recently just been offered a council flat, which of course will offer him that long-term stability and security. But we've continued to support. So we've helped him to set up his utility bills and help him grasp and understand him, really, because, here is a lot different to where he was. So he's required quite a lot of support, really. And we can give as much or as little as a person needs. It's not the same. Some people get their accommodation and they can fly and they can manage and they can do just fine without any support. And then other people need a little bit more. So yeah, he was one that kind of sticks out to me, really. He came from having nothing to somewhere completely unknown with no support. And it was nice to be able to wrap that support around him and see him flourish.
Of course, I just cannot even imagine the advent of anybody in the professional sector even envisaging exactly what you go through or what you experience now. That whole case which you have highlighted about a refugee who has come into the city and engaged with yourselves, and the support network that, as far as supporting him with his eyeglasses, and that anything like that would have been even prevalent years ago. So,
well, there was even a language barrier. So he had a little bit of English. He could understand more than he could speak. So we often had to organise translators or use apps and things to be able to help us to communicate. But we did manage, and now, obviously, it's been a few months since he first came to us. He's picked up more and more English, and he often expresses gratitude. That's one of the things that he's definitely learned in English very well, is thank you. So that's nice.
Well, of course, this is very important point you've made there, language, because the refugees can come from any of one of 10 countries. And they come here and to this city. Maybe some are going to other cities as well. So the problems are in more or less every inner city in the country, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important to point out as well that we don't specifically specialise in status and recourse to public funds, but we work well with organisations that do. So it was a joint effort. We were by far the lead organisation, if you like. We took responsibility for the plan as a whole, but we didn't execute it all. We needed to come together and work together to make that happen. And like you pointed out earlier, we needed to pass it over to those that had the best handle on each different element of his journey.
Of course, that is what it's all about, the power of networking and working together with each other. It's something that we really need to put into our system more than ever before. And
Definitely.
with the learning about so many different diversities in the city, we have up to 40 different diversities, maybe as many languages in the city, and dynamics are changing. Every 10 years, we have a different type of a city. The cities are made of the people that live in them, and their dynamics are changing rapidly every 10 years. So very much so like nursery, primary, secondary, university. The dynamics change as you grow, and the city is no different, is it?
No, it's not at all. In fact, like you've just pointed out, I think our city is one of the most diverse cities, and our charity follows on from that. We've got, I myself, I'm not religious at all, of course. There's Arif Faraji, who is also a Muslim. And then we've got Vanessa, who's one of our other managers. She comes from a Hindu and pagan background. So, we have a real mix, and our service users are no different, a complete mixed bag.
That is also wonderful to hear, that you have people from different diversities working together and to form a bond and a union. And you're living an example which we're all trying to emulate in the city, that how all the organizations across the city should work together rather than being in a pocket in one part of the city. So that is a very...
Definitely, humanity ties us all together, doesn't it? Regardless to religion, ethnicity, culture.
So everything you do is built around the common ground between each diversity, isn't it? So
exactly.
This week we are spending a good amount of time to exemplify that how we should all live together and work together more effectively than we had ever done so before. And I myself, being a refugee, when I came into this country with my family, well, when you're 10 years old, 9 years old, you don't know what a refugee is. But your parents certainly felt the stress and the pain. And it cannot be very pleasant at all to be in that situation. So, of course, facilities were not available back in the 70s as they are now. And organizations were not prevalent as much as they are now. Now they are more effective, they are more resource, more planning, and the experience is there now than it never was before. So there's no training ground as such, is it? You just learn as you go along with your time and your dedication.
I mean, we've all embarked on a journey of sort of professional development. So there's areas, so for myself specifically, I tend to deal a lot with the benefits side of things, so state benefits. So I've done a lot of training to extend on that knowledge that I'd already built. Vanessa, she does a lot more in sort of housing legislation, and again, she's extended her knowledge and taken training courses to expand on that. Arif, as you know, does all our social media and networking, so he too has taken courses to expand on that knowledge. So you start off, but you build on it. You find your niche, you find what you're good at, you find what you enjoy, and then you build on that. And together, the three of us, we've got it all covered, as well as our support team. So we've got one of our actual ex-service users. He's now actually employed by our organisation as a peer key support mentor, and he's got a wealth of lived experience, and he passes that on to our service users. Our service users find him relatable, and they can see that actually, if you want the change, we can help them to achieve that. We were all about empowerment and enablement. We can't do anything for anybody. You can't force somebody to make a change, but what you can do is lead them to the opportunity, and that's what we're all about.
Well, you're what we call the DTC, drive the change. And that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
You are driving the change and making it happen. So you're really blessed, because all of you listening in right now, this is an example, what Corey is sharing with us today, that sometimes you've got to absolutely step up and drive the change, because things not just going to happen themselves. And when you see wrong, you got to speak out and do something about it. You know, if you sit back and wait for somebody else to make something happen, it may never happen. Corey, I'm sure you've come across those situations obtain number of times in your career.
Most definitely. And I mean, I always say that our whole organisation is built on compassion and empathy and drive. That is exactly what our foundations were. And you know, look where we've come. We're, like you said, we're well resourced, we're well planned, our projects are there, we're well utilised. And I think, you know, we have literally come, to quote Arif, from 14 pairs of jeans in the back of his car, but before we were a registered charity, before we even thought about the difference and the reach that we could make.
This is a very important point you've made there, and this is what this sector of society is so valuable to our community, because the disparity between city and county, which is something which is absolutely interesting to note, isn't it, to share with all our listeners?
It is. Yeah. Yes, it most definitely is. But like I said, you know, we were quite conscious of the fact that, yes, we are city-based, and a good proportion of our service users are based in the city as well. But we do reach as far as we can. I think one of the things, just going back to what you said about knowledge and how we've built on that, each local authority, it works slightly differently. So, for example, with Leicester City, we know how they work. We've got good relationships. We've got good partnerships with housing officers, for example. But when it comes to them moving to, say, sort of Charnwood or Harborough District Council, you have to make those relationships again. And they have slightly different legislation. They have slightly different rules and regulations and loopholes that you have to find. But we find them. If we need to, we work on it. We do what we need to do to achieve a positive outcome.
Of course, it sounds to me like you've got your hands full, and the list is endless of kind of things you have to go through in each particular day. And
Yep.
after this little break, we're going to talk about the cost of one person being homeless.
Okay.
So join us very soon.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, we are back on Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM. We have with us a wonderful guest called Corey from Help the Homeless, a fantastic charity, Leicester, doing some fantastic work in the homeless sector. If you have any questions for Corey, then please do send us a text in on 07748855055. And if you wish to call in, you can call in at 01164822086, and then we can answer your question the best we can. Of course, we're talking this morning about homeless and the effect upon community, upon society, upon the financial impact of homelessness. Yesterday we talked about this with Mark Grant from Action Homeless, the impact of one person who is homeless to the communities in the region of 40 or 50,000 pounds. It's quite a lot of money. So if you multiply that by the number of people who are being afflicted with homelessness, then you can find there is a substantial cost, isn't it, Corey?
Yes, it is. And again, that's obviously averaged, but it really can vary from person to person and how long something takes to be resolved, how long somebody is in emergency accommodation. Like I said before, how much support somebody requires once they've got their accommodation solution. It all has a cost attached to it. It does.
Of course, earlier on during the break, myself and Corey were talking, and we were discussing the importance of having this healthy relationship with yourself and with the people at large and with your condition. Then you are in absolute situation where your well-being is affected. The stress levels go up and your health and well-being is affected, and that adds another dimension to organizations, that they now need another skill set to take care of that, because then the after effects of that lead to depression and mental illness. And you come across that all the time, don't you, Corey? Could you talk to us about that? Yeah,
mental health is very prominent within our service users, and I'm sure within the wider community as well, especially during the current times, but also within the staff and the volunteers as well. We need to make sure that we continually check in with each other. We hear and see some very upsetting things and hear some very upsetting stories. So, yeah, mental health is very, very prominent within homelessness, and we do need to keep check on that.
And that's the safety net for all of the people who are affected, is having good organizations in the city so that they can move on and be an asset to this world that we live in. So all of us who have not been afflicted will never understand and appreciate what these people who are at the front line working with all different people. One day you could meet 5, 6, 7 different cases, Corey.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And each one of those will be different. And, there has been some quite traumatic things that we've seen and heard. And like I just said, I think it is quite important to keep checking in, not only with the service users, but with each other as well. And, we don't profess to understand. We've never been through what some of our guys have been through. But, empathy goes a long way. I think if you can have an understanding for why they behave in some of the ways that they behave, or why they haven't done what maybe you think they should have or could have done, but you can never fully understand exactly what it is that they've been through, unless, of course, you've been through similar yourself.
Of course, I was talking yesterday also about the impact across the different diversities, and if you can tell us which particular diversities are afflicted more, or is it something prevalent across the board?
In terms of the service users, the referrals that we've had, there is a majority of single males in their sort of late 30s, early 40s. A majority are probably white British, but we do have a good mix of Asian, Indian. Muslims, Christians, Catholics. It is a good mixed bag. But yeah, the majority are definitely single males in the late 30s, early 40s.
So what I'm trying to get at is that how can we look at this study, put a study together to see that why doesn't this diversity don't have the problem as this one does, and how we can address what is their reason and how we can learn from that.
Well, it's funny actually because we were having this conversation in the office the other day, just a general conversation, and we were talking again about support networks and family sizes, and Arif was saying how often larger families that sort of integrate within each other's households, so live with one another, potentially have more options and opportunities for someone that may have had, I don't know, a relationship breakdown or lost a job and are currently going through financial difficulty, and can offer them a bed or a sofa to sleep on for a while. So maybe that is one of the reasons as to why.
Of course, that takes me back to our childhood when we came into the UK and we were living, I lost count how many we were living in a small terraced house on Hartington Road. And it did not matter really, everybody was just on the floor. And until gradually, after 1 month, 2 people moved out, another month, another 2 people moved out. And that is a support network that was available, was one terraced house with up to 15 people sleeping on not even the couch, sleeping on the floor. So these are times that we never forget. We never forget that.
And I think people are less likely to do that now. I think everybody has their norm, don't they? So are a little bit more reluctant, I guess, to move away from that. So to add an extra sort of body or 2 bodies or 3 bodies into the household could be quite disruptive. I don't think there is one reason or even 2, 3 or 4 reasons explicitly for why there is a higher rate of homelessness for single males. And I think that looking into that too deeply is almost a waste of time, because it is what it is. We just have to tackle what we're faced with today. And that's kind of what we do. And I think as well, if you're a woman and you've got children, of course, the local authority and the wider government generally take that a little bit more seriously than when it's just a sole male to look after themselves. Taken seriously is probably not the right word. I mean, more urgent, because obviously there's a minor, there's a child, and they need somewhere to. There is no such thing as street homeless children in our city. Every single child has got a safe place to lay their head at night, whether that be temporary accommodation or longer term. There is no street sleeping children, which I'm really thankful for, and we're very fortunate that is the case across the country.
Of course, right now I'm going to welcome into our studio Catherine Ray from the Beaumont Leys Food Bank. Catherine, good morning to you.
Morning.
How are you, Catherine, today?
I'm fine. Sorry for the late connection, but I'm just up at the food bank now, sort of preparing for opening.
Thank you for joining us and giving us your time.
That's fine. Yeah.
Catherine, I was talking to Corey from the Help the Homeless, and we're all familiar with each other because we do similar kind of work in the city. And we're going to ask you now about the different types of people that have joined the queue for requiring support at the food bank. If you can talk to us about that.
Okay. Well, as everybody knows, over the last 12 months, when COVID first hit us, it was pretty manic in the first 8 months, and we were supporting all kinds of people, people shielded, people struggling financially. Things have changed now because obviously the shielding has stopped. But what we're noticing that we have a slightly different client group now that attends the food bank. Yes, we've got the people who generally are on very low incomes because of their circumstances, their lifestyles, whatever. But now we're actually supporting people that have always been in employment, who have lost their jobs, who have been furloughed and have got into debt. Debt has become a very significant issue over the last 6 months. Families who have had to go onto universal credits and only getting a very low income, but they'd been living to a standard of an income that their employment gave them. I had somebody yesterday who's got a mortgage, has got a car on finance, and has got all the things that perhaps most of us have at some point in our life. And they were working and they've lost their job now. So it's really, really difficult at the moment for that group of people, and they feel very sort of ashamed of what's happening to them as well, and very lonely. So it's quite sad at the moment.
We discussed with Corey and I earlier on the disparity between the city and the county, and if you recall, Catherine, when we started the food bank distribution, and we were particularly commissioned by the county council, thank you very much for that, to support the county, and you and I were struggling to find people in the county who required support.
Well, but we're city-based. We're not county anyway, but we're on the real borders. But there are people in the county, but sadly, there aren't these services available in the county like we have in the city. This is what I'm coming up against. So I very often have people that live in the county, say Anstey, for example, which is on our border. It's sort of like across the other side of the street, and their county. But they don't have any food bank in the county area to go and access like they do in the city. So it becomes quite problematic for us, really, to be able to support these people. So there are some people there, but I don't know where they're going at the moment.
Of course, you were kind enough to support us and help us distribute
Absolutely.
to the Anstey in the Anstey area.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were able to distribute food there. So that was quite interesting to learn. It was a good statistic for us. Then we had to search in Melton Mowbray, in Hinckley, and in Blaby District Council, which comes also under the county. So the disparity, there is a definite disparity between the city and the county for sure.
Definitely. And, definitely. Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, I suppose it's to do with, I don't know what the affordable sort of social housing's like in those parts of Leicester. It's on a bigger scale in pockets of Leicester. Like if you look at Beaumont Leys, we have real big sort of areas of real poverty. And at the moment, I'm involved with a programme at the moment where we're doing a pop-up vaccination programme next week for 3 days, the NHS. And I'm sort of helping with the promotion of that because Beaumont Leys have got the lowest uptake as well of people not accessing their COVID vaccinations. And we've put this down to very often they have to travel into town. They haven't got the money for bus fares. They haven't got mobile phones to get the text messages. So we're just doing like a drop-in walk-in vaccination centre for 3 days next week to address this issue. And it's quite a big sort of issue at the moment.
We also touched with the Corey this morning the issue of the mental health. Quite a big problem at the moment. Yeah,
well, massive problem for us because a lot of our sort of existing customers that we had before COVID, they did have some mental health issues and they were working with caseworkers with their mental health issues, and we were supporting them with food. Because of the COVID, these individuals have not been able to access those caseworkers. They've had to, if possible, deal on a remote basis over a telephone, where people need face-to-face contact, but they've not always got a phone to be able to speak to their caseworker. So we've been like the middle person for that, but we have seen a massive deterioration in people's mental health, especially that group that still access the food bank. So it is a big problem, a massive problem.
So in a week, how many people would you be supporting with food? And that, I presume, would be one meal a day, won't it, at lunchtime?
No, 3 meals. No, so we work very differently. So when we take referrals only, and when they're referred in, dependent on the size of the family, they will go away with a week's shopping for that family for 3 meals a day. So it's a considerable quantity of food. So we do have some donations of cooked foods that we send out to people as well within their food parcels. But no, it's like going in. I don't want to put it like this because it's not like going to Tesco's. But if you went and did your big shop at Tesco's, that's the kind of food parcel we give to that family.
And where do you get all the food from then?
Right, so we're very well supported by the supermarkets. We're part of Fair Share, so we pay a subscription to Fair Share to get weekly food delivered to us. We get Christ the King has developed absolutely amazing relationships with a lot of other organisations, in particular the Muslim community. So we work very, very closely with Humanities Without Borders, Drop of Compassion, Mend. We've been involved with that group of people, and we're massively supported by those charities that would normally perhaps be working in other countries, and they've chosen to support like our food bank through this difficult time. So lots of personal donations from people. So yeah, we are. It's been a lot of hard work to build those relationships, but we've got really good relationships now. And I was on Radio Leicester on Sunday, and it was very much about sort of the multi-faith sort of connection that we have within the food bank, and we've actually achieved that in a big way at Christ the King. So at the moment, we have Muslim families that have come to access the food bank that are referred. So we're at the moment working with those families to ensure that they get relevant foods for Ramadan. When we get to Eid, we've got gifts for children as well, like we do gifts for kids at Christmas. So we are very, very multicultural and aim to continue to develop that as well.
So, of course, you are exercising and living with the diverse communities and understanding them and working together as a team. Yeah. So all those organizations you mentioned are very well known to us here because we have been working together with them for many years. And we have campaigned on the radio throughout the last 5-6 years, the value of working together, all the multi-faith organizations to hold hands and deliver good objectives in the city.
Yeah, well, I think we've really achieved that at Christ the King. We've got some very good working relationships. I mean, I was struggling last week to get halal meat, for example, to give to the families, and I've sort of made a few phone calls, sent a few messages out, and Mohammed at the Peace Centre, he phoned me yesterday. He said, "Right, I've got chicken coming in. Get up here quick." And I was amazed when my husband came back. He got a car full. He's got about 100 chickens ready to go today to families that we support through Ramadan. And I think that's just an amazing thing that people have come together.
Was it like a well-spiced chicken with the?
No, it's fresh chicken. We work with fresh foods, and people do their own cooking. Then we don't send out ready cooked food. It's all fresh.
Of course, Corey's not with us anymore. She's left.
Okay.
Now, she earlier on? I was discussing with Corey the situation with the food bank when you give food to somebody, and if they afflicted by food poisoning, then do you have any cases like that? Does it happen?
No, because we're monitored with food standards. We're a 5-star rating, so we're all food hygiene trained. We are monitored on a regular basis, so we have to follow food guidelines. So we obviously date label food that comes in. It's put into freezers when it's a freezable food, and we rotate our food constantly every day. We don't let surplus food build up. On a Wednesday, our surplus fresh vegetables that we have, which we may have had on the Monday, gets collected by an animal sanctuary where the animals get the surplus then. So nothing goes to waste either. So it's all managed, it's all kept in cool boxes when it gets here, or vans that are cool vans, and it just gets prepared straight away and put into freezers. So no, we've touched wood, we've never had an issue, never.
Of course,
never.
I do recall that when we were delivering the chicken and rice to you, we were using cool boxes to deliver them.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You would be transferring them to your fridges and then dishing them out. So the importance of networking, I cannot emphasize enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have done yesterday is putting together a lot of these organizations that we are aware of, and then putting a campaign out to all of the retail sector and the industries to reach out to them to say that if you can support these organizations, not only with a monetary contribution of £1,000 or 10,000 or 5,000, but also to include them, do some work with them, go and visit them.
Absolutely,
go and say hello to them. Come and visit. And most of all, Catherine, what I'm telling them to do, asking them to do, requesting them to do, is go along with your family. Take your children along.
Yeah. Absolutely, I mean, nobody understands the concept of our food bank. I mean, we started off 10 years ago with like 3 little cupboards with some food in, with some tins of food. We're now a purpose-built area. We're having an extension because we can't to accommodate the demand. We are actually set up now like a shop, a supermarket, and we have every kind of product you could think of that supports all of the cultural requirements of individuals, whether they're Hindu, Sikh, Muslim. We try and cater for all of those people, vegetarians, vegans, people that are gluten-free. It's a massive project now, and I would welcome anybody to come and visit and see what we do, because I think until you see what we're doing, you will not understand it at all.
You know, this is, I like to hear that very much, Catherine. That's why I connected with you this morning, that why can the city of Leicester not be a showcase that if a visitor comes to the city, why should we not be so proud to show him that these are the facilities we have in the city? And we have delivered the cities working collectively with all different faiths, organizations, and this is the way forward for other cities to follow our example, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's something that in Leicester we have done extremely well. We're very diverse. We work together. We're not competing with, I mean, I've come across in other, not in Leicester, that some of these organisations, they can become a little bit competitive with each other. It's not about that. It's about reaching out to people and working together as a team and supporting people, you know, through these difficult times. One of the things I am noticing, it's quite good that you're actually approaching some of the businesses, that it's been a very long year and we've had a lot of expectations that people are there to support us. And what I'm picking up now, people are getting tired now, and it's very hard to sustain this goodwill, which I really understand all of that. So, yeah, I think in the coming months, we may hit some difficulties with the generosity of the public.
Of course,
I think it's expected, Catherine, as well.
We are coming to the end of the program now, and I'm going to close this by urging all the businesses, all the retail sector, the manufacturers to support. If you have £10,000 a year to give it to 10 organizations. Yeah. And you will benefit that greatly. Support 10 people instead of just one organization, and use that option. And Catherine has quite made it clear as to what exactly their structure is. So we are so grateful, Catherine, that you joined us this morning. I'd like to thank you for that. Problem. On behalf of myself and all the listeners out there today, you've been listening to Ramadan Radio on 87.9 FM. Sometimes it's a 7, sometimes a 9, but today it's a 9. So Jazakallah khair, all of you. I look forward to meeting you tomorrow at 9 a.m. again.